Now, a while back, I created this video, and this video, and these videos are designed to help you nail your interview and get a job with Costco. And those videos have done pretty well. But recently, someone messaged me on Instagram and said, hey, Ben, they asked me these additional questions. How would you go about answering them? Which is why I made today's video. In today's video, I'm gonna go through these additional Costco interview questions and tell you exactly what you need to do in order to answer them. Let's go. Now, the first question is a situational question, and it's, what would you do if you came in and your coworker was being unproductive? Now, one of Costco's 4 core values is we take care of our employees. So with that in mind, what I would personally recommend doing is saying that you would check in with the employee first and find out what is going on with their situation and if there's anything you could do to help. And then if the situation doesn't resolve itself, then you would go to your supervisor and report what is going on so that they could deal with that. That is a reasonable way to approach it. But make sure when you're answering this, you answer it with kindness. So it might sound something like this. Well, it's a really interesting question. You know, I think first and foremost, as a team member, I think it would be great to check in with that person and find out what is going on from their perspective. Are they feeling okay? Is there something else going on that I need to know? And once I got that information and I was able to connect with them, I'd probably elevate the situation to my manager. It's important that we all contribute equally and that we make progress as a team. But at the end of the day, that would be out of my jurisdiction, and that's something that a hiring manager would probably be better off addressing. So that's what I'd probably do if I found myself in that situation. That right there is a reasonable way to answer what is a pretty complex question, because you balance, one, doing right by the company and doing right by the person, but finding a way to answer it in an even keel manner, well, that's going to be a win. Now, the next question is, tell me about a time you got a positive result after communicating something. So a few things. This is an interesting question because it's basically asking you to give an example from the past in which you raised your hand and shared some information, most of the likely with a supervisor or a manager. The other interesting thing about this is it's a behavioral interview question. Anytime someone asks you, give me an example of a time when, or tell me about a time when, ding, 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 that's a behavioral interview question, which means you want to use the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. So what was the situation you were in? What was the task you needed to accomplish? What was the action you took? And then what was the result, the outcome, right? So in this situation, ideally what you're doing is you're going to give them an example of some time in your past in which you communicated something to a hiring manager and then there was a significant benefit to the team and or organization, right? Ideally, it's something where you noticed something that maybe other people were seeing. And it was an opportunity that you made a significant impact by sharing that information so that your supervisor or your manager could take action. Now, at the end of the day, these situations should all be real situations. You don't want to make something up because they might ask follow-up questions. And the more follow-up questions they ask, the harder it's going to be for you to tell what happened. But basically look in your background, look at a time where you felt you needed to communicate something to the person who was leading you, supervisor or manager, and make sure that it was something where it was a strong positive outcome that happened because you shared whatever it is that you shared. Now, this next question is, what would you do if you came in one day to work and you didn't know what to do? So what they're asking presumably here is, if you didn't have any direction, how would you spend your time? What would you do? And how would you be a productive contributing member to the Costco team? So I think a few things here are really important. It's important here to show that you are someone who's going to seek out the tasks. So you're going to find, okay, well, what do I need to do? Let me ask a manager. Let me ask someone to provide me direction, right? And if someone isn't available, then you have a backup plan. Your backup plan is you're going to do what you think needs to be done, given the situation you're in, that's consistent with the role that you are in currently, right? So when someone says, hey, Ben, if you came in today and you didn't know what to do, what you might say is, well, the first thing I would do is I'd go to my normal post and I'd try to find someone who is a supervisor or a senior member of the team to ask them if there's anything specific I should be doing that day. But outside of that, what I would probably do is I'd look around at what I would typically do, what needs to be done, and use my best judgment to make a good decision. And that's typically something that's going to be in line with my role. And that's how I would handle it. And that's a good way to answer that question. It shows them that you're the type of person who, yes, is going to seek out the opinion of those in charge, but in absence of that, you're comfortable taking the initiative and doing reasonable actions that would be, again, in line with what you would typically do. Now, this next question is a really interesting one. It's, what did you do today to prepare for this interview? And I wouldn't mention this video, so first and foremost, I wouldn't. But what I would mention is that you went online and you wanted to learn more about Costco, and you wanted to go and compare the job duties, go over that again, compare it with your background, so you could speak to why you were a good fit, both for the role and for the organization. So it might sound something like this. That's a really good question. So my preparation, I spent time on the website just reading through the About Us section again, familiarizing myself with Costco, familiarizing myself with your company's core values, and just reading up on current events. And then I also took a look at the job description, and I kind of compared that with my background. And I looked at your must-haves, your nice-haves, your qualifications, and I went through and kind of checked the box. Okay, have this, have this, have this. And I just wanted to be able to speak to why I'm a good fit, both for the role and for the organization. And that's how I prepared. That right there shows strategy and effort, which is really what they're looking for if they ask you this interview question. Now, this next question is a really interesting one too. It's if you could choose any position, which would you choose? The only answer that is a right answer to this question is the one you are interviewing for. You might say, ooh, I'd be interested in this role, but that role isn't available. And if you say that, it's gonna make them feel like, oh, well, they're not really interested in this role. They're interested in that other role that they mentioned. So for here, if you're interviewing for a cashier, and they go, if you could choose any role, what would you choose? You might want to say something along the lines of, I choose the cashier role, actually. I really like interacting with people, and this would give me a way to interact with people pretty consistently through the day. So if I could choose anything, I would probably still choose this one because I really like the task, and I think it would be a great fit for my skills. So whatever it is you applied for, whatever it is you're interviewing for, that should be your answer, because at the end of the day, they're gonna want someone to want that role and someone who is a good fit for it. And this isn't an opportunity to speculate wildly. It's an opportunity to reinforce you are a good fit for this role. Now, this video is done, but I want you to watch this one. This is the original, How to Get a Job at Costco. There is a lot in there that would help you prepare. I talk about some more questions, I talk about the values, and I talk about some overall strategy. So I am done with this video, but I will see you over there.